For those of you that just came in, my name's Evan Patterson with the FBI. If you, especially you law enforcement guys, if you have anything to add on this specific presentation, feel free to jump in. I want to make sure that we're getting all the information we need, but I don't want to get inundated with phone calls like, hey, I get at least once a week, I get, hey, I've been hacked. Okay, tell me what happened. Well, I got a virus. Sorry, the FBI is not going to come clean your computer for you. That's the way it is. So, we want to get all the information, but you can obviously get inundated with it. So if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. So, who are you going to call? When are you going to call? Why are you calling? What are you going to do with the information once it's there, once you have it, once law enforcement gets involved? When do I call? If you see something illegal, you should probably call. If you see something that's not technically illegal but maybe dangerous, give us a call. And then there's that kind of last category where I don't really know if I should. This doesn't seem right. I don't know why it doesn't seem right, but it doesn't seem right. Give us a call. Tell us what you see. Let us make that determination whether, yeah, it's a good idea. No, it's nothing you need to worry about. It's the whole terrorism thing. See something, say something. If you see something that's out of place, it's weird, tell somebody. Or tell somebody in law enforcement. Say, hey, I don't know if it's anything, but this guy was doing X, Y, Z, whatever. Illegal things. Child pornography is illegal. If you see child pornography, call somebody. And we're going to get into who you call when in a little bit. But if you see something, if you see child pornography, I know the state guys do this very well. In fact, they called us earlier this week. But if you see child pornography on any system, anywhere, at any time, it's just like seeing drugs. It's contraband. You can't possess it. Law enforcement is, and literally, if we're going to trial and their defense lawyer wants to come and review our practices, they have to come to our offices to review the child pornography stuff. It's contraband. It does not leave our possession. So if you see child pornography, call law enforcement. If you see hacker tools, unless you know that they're used for good and not evil, for those of you in here who have hacker tools on your computers right now, including me, call. If you're doing a review on a machine, or you're in a you're in your business network or whatever, and you see this isn't like if you see it over at your friend's house and they're not a good person, A, why are you friends with them? But B, then yeah, go ahead, give us a call. We'll talk to them. Pirated software is illegal. You see the big FBI warning whenever you pop that DVD or Blu-ray into your player. I will tell you, if you have one pirated DVD, I'm not going to bother you. I don't care that much. If you're selling pirated DVDs, or you have like a 4 terabyte drive full of pirated DVDs, then I might be interested. But Windows software gets pirated all the time. All sorts of pieces of software are downloaded and pirated all the time. Pirating software is illegal.
Thanks.
Conversations, chat logs, emails, whatever, about either legal activity, whether it's criminal or terrorism, or talking about bombs and killing people, threats to government officials, things like that. Make sure you call somebody. Dangerous. Things that aren't necessarily illegal, but would probably pique our interest. Underage erotica. A 7-year-old girl in a bikini posing provocatively. That's not illegal. It may signal something to us that they're doing something else that they shouldn't be, but that in itself is not illegal, but we still want to know about that. Yeah.
What if you encounter that on a network that you can't actually give an identifying address for?
We still want to know about that, because if you see it on there, we can work with you on how to identify it. If it's like a public network, where it's like
Well, I'm talking about if it's like a Tor hidden service or an ITP EAP site.
We would still like to know about that. We put out intelligence bulletins about things like that because we can. We'd like to know about that.
You can assist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's probably better if we talk about this later. Chats, obviously specifically sexually explicit chats with someone who's identifying themselves as underage. Unless they're transferring pictures back and forth, you could argue at least federally whether or not that's illegal. Obviously, state and local laws are a little bit different. But obviously, if they're talking about meeting, hey, I'm 7. Oh, well, hey, why don't you come to my house? Tomorrow afternoon, whatever. If they're obviously sending explicit photos, you can't send photos to minors or receive sexually explicit photos from minors. Pictures of bomb-making materials, guns, weapons. Obviously, a dude holding a gun is not illegal. If you see a guy with 60 guns laid out and ammunition and a couple of bottles that you can't really tell what they are, that might be something that might be interest to us.
I've noticed in the last couple of lists and some of the other content in some presentations that even though that you're involved with several different topics to investigate, bombs, weapons, drugs, gangs, that types of activity, that child porn and erotica is always at the top. Why is that?
2 reasons. Number one, I figured that's what the majority of the people in here are going to see. And obviously I don't know exactly where all of you work and what all of you do, but generally when you're dealing with networks and things like that, that's going to be the most easily identifiable. Okay. The second reason is obviously it's the easiest to prosecute. Child pornography, if you possess it, you possess it. And there's some defenses, add a virus, blah blah blah. Most of those can be overcome fairly easily with just a little bit of forensic work. When you start talking about someone who has 20 different guns, is that illegal? Absolutely not. You can have as many guns as you want, obviously of certain types and things like that. Is that something that's interesting to law enforcement if you have a bunch of guns and you start buying a lot of fertilizer? Yeah, that might be interesting. Or you have a bunch of guns and you all of a sudden, you've never had any violent tendencies whatsoever, and all of a sudden you beat your wife. Is that something that might be interesting? Absolutely. A, if you beat your wife, that's illegal on a state level. B, it may show that there's something going on up there that we need to be aware of because you own all these guns. And then obviously a lot of the domestic terrorists, the people, sovereign citizen movement, people who claim the United States government is illegal and blah blah blah, amass large amounts of weapons. So it's kind of the square versus a rectangle. Every whatever, you know what I mean. Not everybody who has a lot of guns is a domestic terrorist, but most domestic terrorists have a lot of guns. So, just because you call us and say, hey, I saw this picture, this dude has 20 guns, I can't open a case on that. There's nothing illegal about possessing weapons. But if I run him through our system and see that we've seen him, we've interviewed him in the past and he has sovereign citizen tendencies, or he's a felon, it's interesting to know that he has guns because that's illegal. He can't have weapons if he's a felon. So, I'm more on the oversharing versus undersharing. But the reason that child porn is up there is because I figured you guys would be dealing with it the most, and it's the easiest to prosecute. I can change it if you want to, if that bothers you. But
no, it was just interesting because it's, and don't get me wrong, I think that it's a bad thing, and we should prosecute as much as we can. It's just interesting that it's in that particular order because you would think that a lot of the law enforcement would be geared a bit more towards more a larger population of society than child porn. You know, like if you've got a bomb that you can affect several people with easily, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this because I don't believe that we're doing the right thing, but child porn involves a couple of people. You know, it was just interesting how that worked out. But
I think it's less a question. It's less a question of the gravity of the crime, more a question of the frequency of the occurrence.
That's a very good point.
And the availability of information online.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And I'll tell you this: I used to investigate child pornography. I've never seen a computer with child pornography on it with 2 images.
Right.
In fact, the assistant U.S. attorneys won't prosecute with less than like 100 images. So, I mean, and generally these guys have gigabytes and gigabytes of videos and pictures, and you know, I mean, every time that we prosecute somebody for child pornography, we send out a letter to all the victims. So, this happened 20 years ago to this kid that these pictures were taken. Every time we prosecute, they get another letter saying, hey, we found somebody else that had that picture of you. And it basically re-victimizes them again because this other person who they've never met, they didn't know, was looking at pictures of them. Again, not that one is worse or, not, worse or better than the other. It's all illegal. But, from this group, what I figured you guys would probably see the most would be the child pornography stuff. Yes, sir.
As AU puts out security researchers, we stumble on this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What is the proper forum for reporting? So if we're on 4chan doing counterintelligence and we're on B and we see something, hey, this isn't right, we don't click on the picture, but yet we need to tell someone, how do we collect the URL? Or
we'll get there.
And notice you already have your thumbnail in your cache.
We'll get there. Okay, so pictures of weapons, bomb-making materials, drugs, gang symbols, etc. Anything that you see that would indicate gang or drug activity, make sure you let us know. And then the hairy neck syndrome, that's kind of weird. Something doesn't fit. You see something, it's not necessarily legal, but it doesn't make sense where it is. You don't know why. It's just something that just piques your interest. And this is why I try to get out and do a lot of presentations. If you have seen me and heard me and know who I am, you're more likely to call me and say, hey, I don't know what this is, but I just think it's something you guys should be aware of. If you don't, it's a little weird to pick up the phone and call the FBI and say, you don't know me, I don't know you, I think this is something weird. Plus, if we've talked and we have a little bit of a relationship, frankly, I'm more likely to believe you than, half the crazy people that call us and tell us the aliens are out to get them. So, if you're lonely and you need somebody to talk to, feel free to give us a call. Isn't that how you guys do? If someone's lonely and they want somebody to talk to, you guys would be happy to talk to them. Don't call us if you're lonely. We don't just want to talk to you. I just put that up there for your benefit. Emergencies. Who do I call? When do I call? Emergencies. 911. The FBI is not a true emergency response organization. Obviously, if something large happens, the FBI is going to respond, but you should still call 911. 911 knows how to get in touch with us. If it's a true emergency, make sure you call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Can't stress that enough. Okay. Most computer crimes can be considered federal. So if you want to call the FBI, you're more than welcome to do that. How does that happen? Well, because of the way different laws work, amazingly enough, it is not illegal federally to have sex with a child. If you cross state lines to have sex with a child, if you take a child across state lines and have sex with them, that's illegal. But it is not illegal to be in from a federal perspective, to be in West Virginia and have sex with a minor. It's not illegal. Now, from the state and local perspective, absolutely that's illegal. The way, obviously, the federal government is supposed to regulate interstate commerce. And so if it's interstate, That's where the federal government gets involved. Well, how are computers federal? If you email somebody sitting right next to you and you're using Gmail, that's going to be an interstate crime. Gmail has servers all over the country, all over the world, and that's the way that we kind of finagle, if you want to call it that. That's how we get the interstate nexus. There has to be some sort of interstate nexus to take it federal, and generally any kind of computer crime is going to be federal just because of the way that the internet is set up. If you have a relationship with a local officer or state trooper or something like that, and you would rather call them, I have no problem with that. You call whoever you need to call. If they're in over their heads, they know that they can call us at any point and request help. If they don't want to deal with it, if they just want to pass the buck, and that happens frequently, and then we try to pass it back to them. That's you can call them, you call us, whatever you want to do. As long as you're calling somebody in law enforcement to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. These are the things that I've seen. This is the information that I have. What do you want me to do? That's the important part. Property crimes. Once again, that interstate nexus isn't necessarily there. If your computer gets stolen, that's not a federal crime, unless it ends up, once again, across state lines. If your stuff gets stolen out of your car, call the locals, call the state police, whoever has local jurisdiction in your area. But the point is, make sure you call somebody. If you see something, call someone. Let us decide if it's something that we want to pursue, if it's something that needs to be pursued. Obviously, we're trained. This is what we do. Make sure you call us. On the flip side of that, if you get an email from, Mubarak's son saying he wants to send you a bunch of money, don't call me. I don't care. But what you can do with that is you can go to ic3.gov. ic3.gov is the Internet Crimes and Complaint Center. And they are a kind of a clearinghouse for Internet crime complaints. Crazy how the name works. They basically have a web submission of things like emails, Nigerian fraud, any kind of Internet crime. But what they do is they see, we'll get a lot of phone calls from, hey, this person emailed me saying it was Director Mueller from the FBI. You guys are gonna come arrest me if I don't, send them money or, respond to the email or whatever the email happens to say. What the Internet Crimes and Complaint Center does is they track how many of those are being sent, or at least how many are being reported, who are they being sent to, which email addresses are they being sent from, and things like that. And they kind of aggregate all that information and then push it out to whether it's the FBI, the state and local guys, whoever needs that information. So if it's something that's urgent, important, things like that, don't call them or don't go to that website. But if it's something that it's a spam email, it's they're trying to defraud somebody but they haven't actually defrauded anybody. That's the other weird thing about specifically federal crimes. If someone's attempting to defraud you, it's very difficult to get that prosecuted. So if you're getting these emails and they're trying to string you along and get money from you, until you actually lose the money, there's not a lot that I can do from a federal perspective. It seems kind of backwards. You'd think we would want to prevent some of that stuff, but it is what it is. Fusion Center. The Fusion Center is an all crimes, all hazards intelligence fusion center. What does that mean? They are a clearinghouse for the state of West Virginia for everything. It is my humble opinion that if you have a crime in progress, don't call the Fusion Center, call 911. If you have some sort of specific actionable intelligence, I run this network and I've seen 100 images of child porn on this guy's computer, the Fusion Center will get that to us or get that to your state or locals, but that's just one extra step, so call somebody directly. But if it's one of those, this is kind of weird, I don't know what this is about, or I run a computer network and I'm seeing this trend, we're protecting ourselves against it, but I don't know if other people are protecting themselves against it, that's a perfect place, because they will send it out to everybody that's on their mailing list, whether that's, they send it out to us, obviously, the state police, a lot of the local departments are on their distribution lists, and they put out a weekly intelligence bulletin that says these are the things that you need to be aware of. So if it's, if you're seeing something that's kind of a trending thing, Fusion Center is a good place to go. What do you do when you see something? When you're on 4chan and you want to, you see something that's illegal or whatever. 4chan probably is a bad example because, a lot of the stuff on there and a lot of things that are talked about on there are illegal. If you see let's use this as an example, and you can kind of extrapolate. If you have questions, feel free to ask. But you are doing research and you click on, you're Googling something, you click on one of the search results, and it's a page full of child pornography. There's nothing else on it. It's clearly child pornography. What do? Write down the web address. If you write down what steps you took to get there. Okay, I Googled this, clicked on the fourth link, whatever it was. If you're savvy enough, see if you can get the IP address of whatever the web server is that's hosting it, or the one that you hit. And then call somebody and say, here's what I have, what do you want me to do? And someone in law enforcement will be able to say, these are the things that I want you to do, or don't worry about it. With the information that you gave me, I can take it from here. So it's really not that complicated. It's really not something that we want. We don't want a bunch of mini investigators out there. That complicates our job if you're out there looking for things you shouldn't be looking for, and we may prosecute you depending on what you're looking for. So if you come across something, make sure you call somebody. Don't go investigate it on your own.
But if you're spidering an entire network, you might counter call, encounter zone, call, encounter zone, call, encounter zone, call.
Yes,
repeat
that's
ad
true.
nauseum.
And I would say if you are encountering multiple things on the same network, then letting us know about one of them and then saying it, calling back and say, hey, I've seen it on 2 or 3 other ones. That's going to be good enough. But once you've called us and let us know, hey, I've seen this thing, we can say, okay, well, these are things we want you to do or whatever. You don't have to call us. We don't, we're not going to come arrest you if you don't call us. Now, if you have something that's illegal and we know you have it, we won't come arrest you. But if you find something and you don't call us, we'll never know about it. So use your own judgment to say, yes, this is something that needs to be reported. No, it's not. And if you call me too many times, I'll tell you, hey, stop calling me. If it gets to the point where I'm annoyed, I'll let you know. Does that make sense? I think that's it. Nope. Okay, there's the Internet Crimes Complaint Center. That's their website. This is the form right here down at the bottom. I think it says to where you can actually file it. This is the Fusion Center's website. They have the suspicious activity report. That's what they call their reporting mechanism. Once again, all hazards, all crimes, whether it's child porn, terrorism, criminal, whatever, you can submit a suspicious activity report. And I think it's fusioncenter.wv.gov. So that's it. There you go. Questions, comments, concerns, snide remarks, anything? Yes, sir.
In our case, working for Office of Technology, and we run across a computer or a site that has child porn and we report it, then our policy, what we've been told, is we have to wipe the machine that found it. Is that correct?
It depends on, obviously,
I know
we
it's
want to
on
be
the user's computer after the whole investigation's done, user's hard drive, but
You're talking about the investigators.
the investigators itself, right?
what
And we're looking at BM or something just to get away with that, where we can just blow it.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. Child pornography is contraband. Possessing it is illegal. if we see it on your investigator's computer, and there's 3 images, and we can tie it to, well, this was for, I found this on this computer, it was for this investigation, and it's not been opened, 40 times in the past 2 weeks, we're not going to prosecute.
I mean, we wouldn't be keeping it, but it's always,
It's on there, I understand. And I'm trying to give you an answer where you can interpret it.
I understand.
We're not going to prosecute that. Is it still illegal for you to have that on there? Yeah, technically it is. And so that's kind of a policy for you guys, and I know that you guys do generally wipe them. And when it's on an Exchange server, what do you do then? You wipe the Exchange server? That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of resources. What I would say is make sure you remove it to the point that it's not easily recoverable, and that would be sufficient. Now, if we find out that you remove it from the computer and put it on an external hard drive and are taking it home, obviously we're going to have major issues with that. But and one of the things that a lot of people are worried about, a lot of people don't call, especially on like computer intruders, is like, well, you're going to come in and take all my computers. Well, that's not totally true. We come in, we try to work with the person that's the intrusion has happened to, and say, here's the things we need. How can we keep your business up and running? Keep you going and have the least amount of impact. But obviously, we still need to get what we need to get. If you guys find child pornography, you turn it over to us. You wipe the machine where it was found on, and you delete it from your investigator's computer or whatever. I would say from my perspective, that's sufficient.
That's at least due diligence.
Right.
At least.
So, anything else? Questions? Good deal. I'll be around for a little while if you have any other questions.